Introduce herself. Peggy, feel free to go ahead.
Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Peggy. I have been tutoring at Lisa's Study Guides for the past 5 years, and now I am their marketer. So all the Instagram posts and everything that has been created by me.
This is your gal. But Peggy also didn't share that she is also a teacher, an official teacher as well. So she knows the Vika syllabus, guys, and she can give you all the goss today. So
Yes.
we're down to help you guys. Let's just get started with some of the questions. So basically what we did was we had a Lisa Study Guides exam workshop that we held online. So basically we pre-recorded some videos, and anybody who was interested in our exam workshops could purchase it. And in fact, I think the link is actually still in the description box if you guys were still interested for last minute help, because it's not too late. But essentially, we asked everybody who purchased those workshops what their questions were after watching all our videos, because we wanted to make sure that we were able to support you guys and make sure that you go into your Year 12 exams feeling confident, especially after what a year we've had. So if you're interested, I'll just show you here, like this is what we cover. I'm going to cover Peggy's face for a moment. This is what's included inside the exam workshop. But yeah, let's just get into it. Peggy, what were some of the questions that were asked?
All right. So one of them was asked by Denise. So her question was, hey guys, for section C, do you recommend students to link social or greater world issues into their pieces? And if so, how could we incorporate this suggestion?
Wow, that is a solid question.
Mm.
I feel like we should break it down first.
Yes.
Because not everybody knows what some of those words mean, I'd say. So Peggy, why don't you tell us? I'd love to hear it from you actually. What do you think?
So to answer the question, I wouldn't recommend students to link social or greater world issues into their section C pieces. That's because everything should come from the article that you're given. So if you're given a specific article about watermelons, for instance, then you would analyze everything in that article as opposed to bringing in how watermelons are grown, for instance, or anything like that, especially if it's not covered in the article itself.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I guess what do you mean by those type of examples? Like what sort of greater world examples shouldn't be used, just so that everyone's really clear?
Yeah, so I think it's just linking in external references, right? So social and greater world issues such as if the article, for instance, I'm just going to go back to watermelons, we wouldn't be bringing in COVID, for instance. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the social or greater world issues.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that was something that we talked about in the GAT, which you could definitely do, but the GAT's over now, so we're going to leave that aside and just focus primarily on your text or what's in front of you. Awesome. If you guys have any questions, feel free to start leaving them in the live stream as well, because we'll start answering any of your questions. You may have noticed that I have gotten some bubble tea. I also got Peggy some bubble tea. Yeah, so we'll break these open in a little bit to celebrate the end of the live stream, or just whenever it's right to do so. But yeah, before we start answering some of your questions, and as you write them down, we'll just go through also just some of the other questions that were asked through our students who purchased the exam workshops too. So what was next, Peggy?
So what do you do in the exam if you get writer's block? That was asked by Tracy Lee.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So what I always say when it comes to writer's block is we almost want to preempt it ahead of time. So if right now you imagine yourself in the exam and you imagine that you have writer's block, actually visualize it and think about what the steps would be that you would take in order to overcome that writer's block. And this is what I did when I was in year 12. So I thought to myself, okay, if I just blank out, if I don't know what I want to say or what I need to say, what I'll do is I'll just go back to what I know. So my technique was I would look at the prompt again and look at the keywords. And often keywords relate to certain themes. I'm just going to use like a text response or comparative prompt as an example. And so if that theme is a theme about love, I mean, I have an opinion about love because I've been writing about this text for so long and I've been studying this text for so long. So those opinions, they come from me, and so they should be still with you even if you have writer's block or not, right? So I kind of use that idea of looking at the basics. Okay, what is the theme? And then what are my opinions about the theme? And then from there, I'm actually able to start developing a response because it's already there at the back of my head. I just kind of need to fetch it. That's always been my way of going about it, and actually visualizing ahead of time what if I have what if I have writer's block and what are the steps I would take as a result actually helps you in that point in time because you've already thought it through previously rather than, oh my God, I have writer's block right now, what do I do? Because you've already done the pre-work beforehand. So that's my personal technique. What about you, Peggy?
Yeah, so for me, I always like to plan ahead of time. So for instance, with section C of the exam, I would spend the 15 minutes reading and then rereading the article that's given, and then I'll form a mental plan during that time as well. Once writing time starts, I would spend around 3 to 5 minutes just annotating the article and getting my mental plan on paper, just so in case I do get writer's block while I'm writing, I can always refer back to my physical plan there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same applies for section A and B as well. So once you've picked a prompt, just quickly jot down a few key points that you want to discuss or explore in your essay, and you can always refer back to that.
Yeah. I wonder if you're lagging or if I'm lagging. I actually think that, I guess it like ties in together quite well, right? Like it's thinking ahead of time what you'll be doing rather than just coming up to that situation and then freaking out as a result. So I think we have a very similar approach. Okay, next question. What else did they ask?
All right, so the next one is, how much time should we aim to spend on each section?
How much time do you think? Okay, cool. So if you've been on my channel long enough, you'll know that I have a video where I actually go into detail how I broke up the 3 hours and how I wrote 3 essays in 3 hours. We also break this up again in the exam workshop, but just as a fresh perspective, Peggy, why don't I pass that back to you and see how you would go about it?
Yeah, so with the way that I approached it when I did my Year 12 BCE English exam was I spent 5 minutes planning for each of the sections. And then for section C, I would spend perhaps around 40 to 45 minutes writing the essay there. And then section A was my next strongest. So I would spend around 50 minutes writing an essay for that. And then my section B, I would spend a little bit over an hour on that. Yeah, so I would sacrifice some time from section C and section A to make it up for section B. Yeah, I think an overall safe sort of time frame to follow would be 5 minutes for planning, 50 minutes for writing, and then 5 minutes extra for rereading, proofreading, editing, all of that work.
Yeah. I think you've actually raised a really good point. Like, even though we say, okay, you should spend 5 minutes planning, 50 minutes essay writing, and then 5 minutes proofreading, let's say, your point about, my strongest section was this one versus my weakest one was this one, and so I created more time for the part that I was weakest in. I think that's super valuable, because a lot of times people are obsessed with like formulas, or like, how should I do things? Tell me exactly what I should be following to a T. But really, I think, if you're really thinking about yourself and what works best for you, that's ultimately the goal, right? So my encouragement to any of you watching would be to experiment. So, if you like having a formula, or guidelines, start off with the 5 minutes planning, 50 minutes writing, and then kind of gauge for yourself, like, does this actually work for me or does it not? So it does require a little bit of self-awareness there, but I think actually that's how you're going to help yourself out the most. Yeah. Cool. These are really great questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that was asked?
So how do you study to remember quotes?
How do you study to remember quotes? Oh, can you guys see my screen okay? So I'm a massive believer that you shouldn't just memorize quotes for the sake of memorizing quotes. I'm not sure how you go about it, Peggy, but I'm keen to hear about it too. But I just think if you're just memorizing quotes for the sake of it, there's no relevancy that is connected in your brain to why you're actually memorizing it. So the way that I actually went about learning quotes was actually just by writing essays and figuring out, this quote actually seems to work quite well whenever I talk about this theme. And so I'd often pull out that same quote over and over again because I quite liked it. And I knew that it was like my go-to quote, and it was my unique quote that only I use. Well, I'm not sure if other people used it, but I thought it was unique, at least, because I picked it out myself. I didn't just find it like off my teacher's notes or, in a class discussion. I actually went about to get it on my own. So that's how I went about it. And actually practically doing it just automatically helps you remember it. And it's such an easy way to go about it that I just figure, why shouldn't you do it that way? Make life easier for yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How did you go about it?
So I basically memorized quotes the same way that you did, Lisa.
Yeah.
So I would always apply the quote into context. So as I'm writing an essay, if I notice that there are a few quotes that keep popping up on a regular basis across different types of prompts that I'm answering, then those will already be ingrained into my mind because I've already written so many essays with that quote. And I would also advise against memorizing certain ones as well, like a specific amount, just because you can't force it into an essay, especially if it doesn't make sense, if the context doesn't fit or anything like that.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And guys, we got in the top 2% of English. So, I think English shouldn't be hard. Like, it shouldn't be this like mammoth, like uphill climbing of a battle that I think a lot of people make it out to be. I feel like you actually have a very similar story to me in that you were more of a math student and then you turned into an English student.
Yes.
Can you tell people a little bit more about that actually?
Yeah, so in year 10 and 11, I was actually stronger in math. However, I think it was because I noticed that my English results weren't where I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So I spent a bit more time focusing on English. And after that, I came to love the subject so much.
Yeah.
So I guess that really motivated me to work hard for English.
Yeah. What was like
Yeah.
a turning point for you? Because I feel like often when a lot of people message us about English, and even probably a few of the people on the live stream right now, like, you know, English is like a tough subject for them. So what was, I don't know, was there like a pivotal moment, an epiphany, or like something that just made you go, ah, actually English, it's all right. I can do this.
Yeah. So what changed my mindset was actually reading a lot of high scoring sample essays and then figuring out my own sort of formula to essay writing. And that really helped me. So for instance, with a body paragraph for section C, we have the TEE formula here at Lisa Study Guides. So that's basically something that I have continuously followed because I saw that in high scoring sample essays. So I realized, there's the topic sentence, which is the argument, and then they go into technique, and then they go into example for that technique, and then the effect. So, and that's consistent throughout the whole essay. So I just applied that formula and it got me the results that I wanted.
Yeah, it did. Shall we celebrate with some bubble tea?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, so I think for a lot of you out there, the key takeaway here is more that you realize that after learning a formula that you could adapt the formula for yourself, which is very much what I also learnt too. So should we do this together?
Oh, I've already...
you've already opened it! Okay, ready? Well, cheers!
Yeah.
Cheers to all of you out there. Thank you for being on this live stream with us. We love having you guys here. So good. Oh, so good. So, you know, we teach formulas at LSG as well. So we teach the T rule, which is what Peggy was literally talking about. We have another strategy called the bubble tea strategy, actually, to help students develop unique interpretations. And yes, there are like certain formulas, but I think the key to becoming an amazing English student is realizing that you actually do have what it takes and starting to adapt that formula for yourself. So if you find that you're still somebody who's stuck in the, give me a formula, let me just memorize something, like you got to believe in yourself and realize that there is that next level that could be your potential, essentially. And so I think for me, when I realized that, that was just a big like unlocking moment. So just want to put it out there, like, hey, if you want to get private tutoring with us, we are accepting new clients now. A lot of students are signing up for 2022. And the really exciting thing is we've branched out into year 9s and year 10s to help anybody who wants that pre-VCE help as well. Because English is a long-term game, man. Like, you don't just go like this overnight. You can't cram English. So if you want us to help you, we have amazing tutors on our team. So just putting that out there in the description box if you would like to join us. But yeah, should we start looking into some of the live stream questions and chatting with our people?
Yes, yeah. So Jono asks, should we use the rough workspace and why?
Should we use the rough workspace? What does that mean?
I think that's referring to the planning space, isn't it?
Oh.
The extra pages that aren't going to be scanned to be sent off to the VCAR examiners. I'm guessing that's the planning.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how.
What do you think?
Definitely to plan. You always should plan before you write every essay. Yeah.
Definitely.
So definitely use,
Yeah, and that's what helps to get rid of the writer's block as well. If you plan all your stuff beforehand, then it helps you to circumvent potentially, you know, coming up to that roadblock just midway through an essay and going, oh, wait a minute, where was I? You've got yourself protected with a backup, or, you know, your past self has helped your future self, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Emma asks, if you're writing a paragraph, how do you make it sizzly and interesting?
Oh, sizzly, I like that. So I would go back to developing your own unique interpretation. Now, I know I've talked about unique interpretations a few times, and honestly, it's kind of like the most challenging part. It is one of the most challenging parts of English, actually being comfortable with your own idea and not just relying on an idea that your teacher has taught you or like a study guide has taught you. And while it's completely okay to utilize those ideas, when you start to maybe build in your own sort of life experiences and how you actually understand a particular idea that's happening in a book, I think that's when you can start to showcase like a more thoughtful approach to essay writing. And honestly, I feel like that's when things stand out. Like when I tutor my students and they say something that just catches me off guard and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's awesome. And you know, I've read like 20 other essays about this same book where everyone's writing the same thing essentially. It's those ones that are like a little bit left of field. Maybe they talk about other characters instead. Maybe it's just a slightly different angle. And then that just kind of perks me up and go, wow, yeah, that's cool. That's sizzly. How about for you, Peggy?
Yeah, I would agree with you in terms of different types of pieces of evidence being used. So I would always recommend to my students to use minor characters as opposed to always relying on the protagonist, for instance, and quotes from the protagonist or analysing characterization there. Also analysing conventions, so narrative conventions, film conventions, any language features or techniques there as well, and how they support or enhance the writer's argument, essentially.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So those are just some of the ways in which you guys can actually make your essays more interesting. Which is why, you know, we built this bubble tea for unique interpretations, because I understand that for a lot of you, you just kind of need that initial guidance of how do I actually develop my own unique interpretation. And then it's just that one time that you need to be guided, and then you can just go off on there. So yeah, if you guys want to know, any of our comparative guides will teach you the BBT method, which you can then take into your own text responses as well. So yeah, check out our shop. We've got plenty of study guides for all comparative texts. Yeah. All right. What's next?
Awesome. Next question. So what are your thoughts on memorizing whole essays and adapting it to different prompts that might come on the exam?
Yes, this is such a good question. Prompts and how they would come up on the exam. So the way that I go about it is I like to group prompts according to different themes. That was my preferred method. It just made sense to me to like group things into themes. And depending on the theme, I would have my sort of like my, say, like 3 to 5 main ideas that I'd often say for these types of themes. And I often built into it my own interpretation, like my opinions of them. And so that way, regardless of what the prompt was, you know, they can only ask you so many questions about love, let's say, from so many different angles. If you've done enough essay prompts, you know that they all start to sound the same eventually. So I just kind of looked through as many prompts as I could beforehand, and I just tried to group them into my particular theme groups and then make sure that I actually had a response for those prompts as a result. And then that pretty much got me set, to be honest. What about you?
Yeah, I actually did the exact same thing. So even with my students this year, for instance, with the text rear window, I would grab all the prompts that I could find since the text came onto the study design, all the way till the most recent trial exam paper, for instance. And I would grab all these prompts and I would organize them into themes for my students. Prompts that revolved around voyeurism, for instance, or community, all of that. And we would try to tackle every single prompt. So a few lessons would spend on perhaps the theme of voyeurism, and then next lesson we'll do community, and then we'll do relationships, that kind of thing. So you can see that there are quite a lot of recurring ideas for that specific theme. The main idea is usually very, very similar. So the prompt is usually just worded a bit differently every now and then.
Nice. Sweet. I guess that makes us, also makes me remind everyone, don't just memorize an essay either, because even though a prompt might be similar, it's never quite the same. So in terms of the keywords, even though they shift slightly, you still need to make sure that your essay responds to that particular prompt. An examiner knows their stuff, and they'll know when you've just copy and pasted.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some instances as well where there might be one word in the prompt that would change the whole meaning. Just watch out for that as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
What other questions
all
have we got?
right, next question. How to write an essay on the topic when the topic is too hard or tough and have no idea?
What do you think?
Maybe give yourself a little bit more planning time.
That's a good one.
And also trying to find synonyms for the key terms. And there's also a strategy that I've added actually in one of our workbooks that I've recently created, and that is called the 5 W's and 1 H, which is something that I was taught from my Year 12 English teacher. So basically with that method, you would just translate the prompt and mold it into questions. This would work very, very well for comparative-based prompts, especially if since the majority of the time they start with compare how or compare the ways in which. That's usually a statement as opposed to a question, and you want to answer a question. So converting that statement into a question would help you answer it. So for instance, using the keywords in the prompt and then applying it to who, what, when, where, how, and why. The most common ones I would use with my students would be how, why, and who.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where can people get this workbook?
Private tutoring. So this is actually in our curriculum,
Yes.
our LSG signature program.
Yeah, sometimes I have to ask Peggy because there's just so much going on in the background. I'm like, hang on a minute, we did that? That's amazing. So we've been developing our own LSG signature program for Year 11s, Year 12s, and starting next year we've got our Year 9s and Year 10s as well. So if you join us for private tutoring, then you're going to get access to this program where, we still do our personalised, tailored lessons, but the point is that you know that you're going to learn the proven methods of success and the unique strategies that we've developed over time that we know have helped students score amazing study scores, 40 and above, 50 and above, 50 and above, 45 and above, and definitely we've had students graduate with 50s as well. So come join us for private tutoring. We have a lot of fun together, and you know that you've got an amazing support network of tutors like us, but quality teachers as well, such as Peggy on board. Yeah. What's the next question?
So do you think it's worth reading the text right now?
That's a good question. I assume that question was asked because the text hasn't been reread yet.
Ooh.
I don't know. Do you think so? Yeah. I get the feeling that this person hasn't read it quite yet. I think there's value in it. Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't actually reread the book again since however long, it's been a period of time and you feel like you don't quite remember everything, Yeah, definitely. Just because every time you reread a book, you always get something new out of it, especially if you come with it with fresh eyes and you haven't seen it and like read it in detail not too long ago. If you read it 2 days ago and you think you're going to reread it again, I'd say, okay, hang on a minute. I'm not sure that's the best use of your time. But yeah, if you haven't touched it in a while, I'd say go for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I would also recommend audiobooks as another option as well, just because you might grab another idea from listening to that text as opposed to reading. Yeah. But I also agree with Lisa in terms of reading the text again through a different sort of perspective. Yeah. So, for instance, the first time that you read at the beginning of the year, that should be to understand the plot, maybe a bit of characters or that kind of thing. And now you should look for perhaps specific, unique types of evidence. So maybe a different way to demonstrate that the character is blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Or maybe a convention that you want to kind of incorporate, like a symbol or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, look for something different.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. And going back again to the BBT interpretations, I don't want to drill this into you guys, but when you reread a text again and you've already learned all this stuff in class, maybe you've gone on and watched some of our YouTube videos, maybe you've read some study guides, you've got all these extra ideas now. So you kind of want to see rereading your text as okay, I know all this stuff. What more could I figure out? What's the next thing? How could I build my interpretation further? And rereading your text is a really great way to do that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I wouldn't recommend rereading it if you're just rereading it for the sake of rereading it.
Yeah, agreed. Just like to do something, right?
Yeah. It would probably be better spending that time doing timed plans or even timed writing, especially now that there are only maybe 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks until the English exam. Yeah.
Good luck, guys. Soon. Yeah. End of lockdown, end of school.
Yeah.
Okay. What other questions?
All right, next question. So what order would you suggest for writing the essays?
I guess you sort of answered that earlier, hey? But yeah, from my end, I went section C, section A, and then section B. Mm-hmm. But again, it's up to you. My rationale behind it was section C is cold material, so I've never seen it before. I kind of want to be at my freshest self when I'm diving into this, because I know with section A and section B, if I'm running behind on time, I can probably push myself to write those essays faster just because I know the content a bit more. Whereas section C, you don't know how comfortable you'll be with it. So for me, I was like, I'd rather give myself a bit more time at the start. And if that means I go over time for my 1 hour, then that's okay, because I feel like I'll catch up later on.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same thing. That was my approach to the exam as well.
Yeah. Are we the same person? We're both wearing glasses.
Question. Oh, yeah.
We're both Asian.
Yeah. So do you consider us to provide background information for the text response in comparative? Is that thing high-scoring students do? Should we be memorizing this?
What was the earlier part of that question, sorry?
Would you consider us to provide background information for the text response and comparative?
Oh.
I would perhaps advise against it, just because the VCAR examiners would already know the text inside out, so there's no point in regurgitating like the plot, for instance, or even the background information.
Yeah.
I feel like that would kind of be a waste of writing time.
Yes.
It would be better to just get straight into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. When I was in year 12, I did include background information, but knowing what I know now and having had tutored many, many years, it's not so much about, do I put background information in the introduction, as it is the question of what value does this add to my introduction. So if you're just putting it in there for the sake of putting it in there, I mean, think of it this way. You could potentially be using that time providing more evidence, elaborating more on your examples, the parts that are actually really important to helping you stand out in an essay. But obviously, if the topic has to do with like history, if the background is relevant and you find that it does add value, then do it. So yeah, I guess it's in line to what you say as well. Like, don't just do it because you feel like you should be doing it. And if I was to look back at my younger self, I'd say the same thing. Like, I didn't necessarily do it because it was important. I just did it because I thought I had to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, your opening sentence for the intro, for instance, that should link back to the prompt. It should perhaps cover the main idea that's been mentioned in the prompt. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have we still got plenty of questions?
What is the highest score you can get in the exam if you get average scores in English SACs?
Oh, these questions. What do you think, Peggy?
So I don't think there is a limit. So I don't think there is a highest score you can get per se, because even if you, for instance, for Unit 3 and Unit 4, if you get 60%, like a 60% average, you can still smash out the exam and get like an 80% average. There isn't really a boundary there. Yeah, it just depends on how you study, I guess. Are you using your time effectively? All of that, yeah. So if you're getting average scores in English SACs at the moment, your exam score could definitely improve and boost up your study score and then your overall ATAR, yeah. Yeah, so there's still a chance.
Yeah. And I'd add on to that and just say, at this point in time, don't worry so much about that stuff. It's probably not the most productive use of your time. Some hard love, okay? Just focus on your studies and just get it done.
Yeah. Like, I've had students in the past who received 60% for Unit 3 and Unit 4, and then they smashed out the exam at the end of the year and they still ended up getting a 41 for English. So it's still completely okay.
Yeah, just put in your best effort, That's all anybody can ask of you, to just do your best. And you want that for yourself too. If you know that you've put in your absolute best, then you're not going to regret whatever it is that comes out at the end. That's just left up to the world, fate, whatever it is. But what you can control is what you put in. So I always think about that as well.
Yeah. So the next question is, will Year 9 and 10 curriculum slowly transition you to write well in Year 11 or 12? Or are you sticking with the normal curriculum completely?
Okay.
So here at LSG, we consider Year 9 and 10 to be pre-VCE. So it will definitely slowly transition you to Year 11 and 12. And the skills will build every year. Your writing skills, I mean. Yeah.
I mean, like, at the end of the day, the way that the thing is structured is you get a mark at the end of the year every Year 12. And so almost everything kind of should align up to that end goal. And so if you start early, you build in the right habits and the right practices in your writing, in your thinking, then it's going to be a much lighter lift for you at the very end, as opposed to like figuring all out at the end and doing a much heavier lift. So, yeah. The answer is yes.
Yes. Next question. What kind of vocab limit will still be high scoring in regards to timed essay writing?
What does that question mean?
The way that I interpreted it, so I'm just going to answer it the way that I think that it means. So I think that high-scoring essays would usually be around 1,000 words, even under timed conditions as well. So 1,000, 1,100, around that.
Yeah. So actually, I wrote 2.5 pages for my essays, which is super short. And then the girl next to me wrote like 5 pages for each of her essays. So it definitely is super varied, and we both got the same study score in the end. Yeah. Quality over quantity. It's my reminder. Cool. Just letting you know, guys, we've got like 5 minutes left in this live stream. So we're just going to try and power through as many questions as we can until then. Oh, and I just want to add one quick thing I would love to request from you guys is if you've enjoyed our work this year and you're about to graduate, or even if you're just ending the school year, you want to say thanks to us. It'd really mean a lot to us if you left us a review on Google. This is what we do, and we don't do like paid ads and stuff. So really it's just word of mouth and people sharing the love of us and sharing how much we've helped you. So I'd love to sort of request back a favor and hope that if you guys feel like we've made an impact, then please leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it.
Yes.
That's it.
I think the next question is, what is the best way to approach argument analysis?
Oh, that's a bit of a broad question in my mind. How would you go about it?
Okay, so in the actual exam, I would spend the 15 minutes, or most of the 15 minutes, maybe around 13 minutes, going through section C. So I would read it first just to understand the content in the article. And then the second time I read it, I would look for the contention, arguments, the 3 arguments, the tones, target audience, the supplementary or secondary material that's accompanying the piece as well.
Yeah.
And then once writing time starts, I would spend around 3 to 5 minutes just annotating the article.
Yeah.
And then I'll get straight into writing. And I also, even with some of my students at the moment as well, you don't actually have, I've told them that you don't have to write a conclusion for argument analysis. So if you do want to scrap that conclusion, you definitely can. Yeah.
Sorry guys, my camera's died, so I'm going to switch to my webcam. Yeah, I'd pretty much say the same thing as you, Peggy. Yeah. Hello. Okay. What other questions we got?
Okay, so the next one is, did you guys find out what you got on your essays back when you did your English exams?
Oh, like on my individual essays? Yeah, I did actually. Did you?
No, that's something that I regret so much. That's like my biggest regret in year 12 is I did not order that.
Yeah, so...
But I can have a guess, yeah.
What do you guess you got?
I would say that I got full marks for my section C and probably full marks for section A, but section B, I don't think I got full marks for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably missed like 1 or 2.
Yeah. So I was shocked that I got 45 in English. Like, guys, like, I don't know, some of you out there might be aiming for 50, which I think is unbelievable and awesome, and you should go for that. For me, though, like, getting a 40 was... That was my goal. That was my dream goal. I just wanted to get over 40 because, again, like I was never like a strong English student, and it was only actually by kind of unlocking a lot of these limiting beliefs I had about myself, about how I was just like a maths kid and I couldn't do English. I kind of climbed my way up, right? And I was getting A's and I was doing well in my SACs. But I was just like, oh yeah, if I can get 40, that'd be amazing. I don't know, I'm going to be so annoyed if I get 39 out of 40. And then when I got my results, I got 45 and that made me cry. I was just ecstatic. I had no idea that I could achieve that. Like, yeah, it was just absurd. So I was like, okay, I have to get my marks because I need to know how this happened. And I actually got 9s on all 3 of my essays. Yeah, it was an equal split. Yeah, 999
Yeah.
got me a 45 in my year level. So that might give you guys a little bit of an indicator of, like what kind of marks get you what kind of study score. So that's why I'm always like, if I can do this, and same thing for Peggy, like you literally have the same story where you were not a strong English student and in the end you got 46, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we're both proof for you guys that if you're somebody who doesn't think you can do well in English, you absolutely can. You just need to have the right type of guidance and the right type of mentality even to get there. So, yeah, follow our stuff, Yeah. We've been in your shoes, so it's not like we were naturally talented and so that's why we teach this stuff. I think what makes us kind of stand out almost is because we've kind of like started from the bottom, now we're here. Yeah. So yeah, come join us again at LSG for tutoring if you'd like. Okay, shall we answer one more question before we go?
Yes. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. There's actually quite a few good ones.
Aww, I want to stay.
What did you average in SACs? That's a good one, I guess.
I'm pretty sure I averaged 18, like 90. 90%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why? What about you?
I think my Unit 4 was around like an 86%.
Okay.
And then Unit 3 was around an 86%. And then Unit 4 was around 95%. I think, yeah. So A pluses.
That's just an A plus.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of like offset. Oh, so similar in the end. The average was around 90. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
That was the last question asked.
Oh, yay! Well, I feel like this live stream went by really quickly.
Yeah.
Let us know if you guys want another one. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun and I'd love to answer more of these questions. But yeah, the hour's almost up. I guess we will say like a couple of takeaway messages as well, just in these like last couple of weeks before your exams. Peggy, like what, if I'm a student and I've got, not too long until my exam date, what would you tell me? What should I be doing?
What should you be doing? I think definitely pacing yourself when you're studying as well, so you're not burning out. But I would recommend maybe spending about an hour minimum a day on English. Yes, or studying for English. So whether that's just reading or planning or even writing an essay, doing a bit of work for English and just pacing yourself would be really important. Yeah, but taking regular breaks as well.
Yeah, don't burn out.
Yeah. To maybe answer that one more question, yes, it's important to sleep well the night before the exam. So, try your best not to strain your brain too much by trying to get a 3-hour exam done the night before. Just do really light work, like a bit of reading or look at a few more quotes and read a few more sample essays, that kind of thing.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah. What would you say, Lisa, if I was your student and you were giving me advice?
If you were my student, I would say very similar things. So, the day before, like don't by that point, like, you shouldn't be trying to cram or shouldn't be trying to do a like heavy lift of work. Like, you know what you know by that point in time. One extra day shouldn't be like that impactful if you've been, studying consistently beforehand. I'd say just look after yourself most importantly. I mean, you can only be your best self if you're able to look after yourself. And when you're the best self, then you're able to perform at your optimum level as well. So I think you will know you best. So whether that's, making sure that you have more frequent breaks, whether that's a specific subject that you should be spending more time on in order to boost your confidence in that, whether it is starting to slow down in how much you study in the days leading up to English, let's say, that could be important for you as well. So I think, some people can have a tendency of just doing more, especially during exam periods. Like, there's a lot of stress and anxiety, and it's just like, I just need to do more. But sometimes it's actually taking a step back and actually assessing the situation and thinking for yourself what's going to be most beneficial for me can actually help to really optimize your whole experience. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. I think the last 3-hour sitting for in terms of the trial exam that I did was probably 2 days before, so it was like the Monday. Yeah. So the exam would be on the Wednesday, and then I did one final 3-hour trial exam on the Monday.
Yeah.
But that trial exam was super meaningful because I actually asked my teacher for their predicted prompts for this year. I joined the year 11s that year and sat with them while they were doing their exam. But I would just stay an extra hour because they did a 2-hour exam, and I would sit there for the extra hour to do the 3 hours in total. Yeah. So I would also recommend doing that, just perhaps asking your teachers or even a study group with your friends and just predicting the prompts for this year and then planning and preparing for that. Yeah.
Yay, awesome. Yeah. That sounds really cute and fun. That's what it should be, All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed this and found value in it. If you did, please show us some love in whichever way, shape or form you prefer. We will still be posting on Instagram in the lead up to exams to help you. We'll still be sending out our helpful weekly emails with lots of tips. And we've still got one more YouTube video coming up before your Year 12 exam as well. And for anybody who isn't in Year 12, we've got so much exciting content coming up for you guys right after the Year 12s finish. So make sure you stay tuned. And otherwise, hope you guys have a great rest of the night, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.